everybody. Firstly, I'd like to say how jealous I am of all the newbie stitchers out there in our community. You guys have so much information at your fingertips that just wasn't available to stitchers like myself that have been stitching for 20 odd years. For me personally, I had to learn through buying a chart and just following the instructions on a chart because I didn't have anyone in my life that could teach me. And basically I just learnt the best way that I knew how and probably adapted my way over the years as I found things that, made my life a little bit more easier. These days, you guys have all the information out there and it's just a matter of knowing where to look. So this video today has been done because daily I receive a lot of messages and questions regarding things like what needle should I use for which count fabric, how many strands of floss do I recommend for a particular count fabric, just many questions along those sorts of lines, and even an awful lot of questions regarding heaven and earth designs. It's really great that you guys all think that I'm an expert. I still do not consider myself an expert in any means. I'm still learning daily, and I feel that I have learned so much more about this hobby in the last 2 years than I have in the last 20. So this video today, I want to tell you a few things that I have found on the internet and hope that I can actually share some of that with you. And look, some of this you may already know. Some of this information may not be of any use to some of you. You may already be aware of it, but this is aimed primarily at those people starting out that still have a lot of questions and don't know where to go to for the answers. So in the hope of this being a reference video for some of you, I am going to link everything that I mention here today down below, and I will put in the time. I'm going to segment it all into categories, and I'll put the time that each segment starts, so that should you wish to come back and say, oh, I remember Carolyn said something about this particular site, but I can't remember what it was, you can easily go back to it. So let's get started. First off, I want to say that Google is your new best friend. Seriously, Google knows everything. I have found so much information on Google. It really just comes down to what you write in that search engine box. So if there's something in particular you are looking for and you can't find it, try rewording it in a few different ways. And I'm certain the information is out there. Sometimes it just takes a little bit harder to find. So my tip number one, Google. All right. If there's anything you're interested in finding, go to Google first. Secondly, YouTube is also fantastic. I personally love looking for review videos on products. When there's something in my life that I'm interested in purchasing, I go to YouTube and I read what people have thought of it. I like to see them opening the box. I like to see everything I can about that product so that I have an informed decision when I go to the shop to go and purchase it. And that way I can talk to a salesperson and have some knowledge of what I'm talking about, so they don't think that they can just sell me anything. So Google and YouTube are my two number one tips. Okay, that's not news to probably 98% of you watching this video. Some of you may not have heard of Pinterest. Pinterest is a virtual pinup board, and it can be used for many different things. Personally, I like to keep it as a record of websites that I want to remember, that I know I'm going to come back to. Now, for me, I'll be watching a video or I will search something and I will find the website that I want. And normally in the past, I've written it down on a piece of paper. A week or two down the track, can I find that piece of paper? No, it's gone missing. Or I can't remember, where I've written it. Did I write it on my phone? Did I put it on a piece of paper? Did I put it in an email? No idea. So in the majority of cases, and there are a few odd cases that you can't, but in the majority of cases I can pin the link to the website that I want to refer back to on my Pinterest wall. That's great. I also use Pinterest as a virtual wish list. Excuse me, I have a hair on my face. This happens every video. Downside of having long hair. As I was saying, I also use Pinterest as, I have many actual boards on Pinterest, so I use it for many different things, but two of the main reasons are websites I want to refer back to and charts that I'm interested in doing in the future. So I don't want to purchase them just yet, but I don't want to forget about them either. So I'll quite often search an image. Maybe I've seen it on someone's YouTube video, or I've seen it in a magazine or something. I will Google search the image, and then I will pin that image to my wall and say, hey, don't forget that. You wanted to do that at one stage. This is it, here reminding you. So I highly suggest you look into Pinterest. One couple of tips I have with Pinterest is, one, you can actually see what other people pin on their boards, obviously, and you can follow other people, and great inspiration as well as Instagram and YouTube. For our stitchers, there are a lot of people that put on their finished designs or things like that on Pinterest, so it's a great form of inspiration. But the main tip I have for Pinterest is, if there is something you see on Pinterest that somebody has already pinned, you can actually pin that yourself as well. For instance, someone has pinned a link to a website that is regarding fabric conversions, and you decide, oh, I want that pin as well. My tip to you is, don't repin that person's pin. Use their pin to go to the original site and then pin it from the original site. The reason for that is, when you go back to that pin one day and you want to access the site, it's very quick and easy. 1 or 2 clicks and you're there where you need to be. If you pin it from someone else's site and they've pinned it from someone else's site and then they've pinned it from someone else's site, sometimes it can take you quite a while to get back to the original site, and then sometimes it doesn't work at all. So pin it from the original site is my recommendation. So that's out of the way. Let's get started on the actual subject. First subject is going to be needlework abbreviations. Now, we all use abbreviations, we all love them, but there are new stitchers out there that are still unsure what certain abbreviations mean. I found a really good site for abbreviations, and the address is stitchersvillage.com. And that will show a list of cross-stitching abbreviations for everyone to understand. And you will note that FFO is not on that site. And I did mention when I came across the abbreviation FFO that I found it on the internet, and I have a feeling it was on a sewing abbreviation site, not actually stitching, not cross-stitching as such, but a sewing site. But I felt that it still was able to be used in our community. So that's why that's not on there. And obviously that person doesn't watch YouTube or doesn't watch Flosstube and hasn't updated their site to add it to their abbreviations. Okay, next is DMC. We all know what it is, we all love it, and most of us can't live without it. If none of you have ever seen the process of how DMC makes their floss, I highly suggest watching the video. It's on YouTube, and to be completely honest, I only found it this morning and I watched it, and I can't believe I didn't look for it before, because it is an amazing process. It's only a short video. I think it goes for about 4 minutes, but it is in French, so I suggest possibly turning the sound off when you watch it, because there are subtitles. You don't really need to read the subtitles. You can gather what's going on in the images. But yeah, great little video to watch and to see how our beautiful floss is made. The other thing I want to mention regarding DMC is, if you haven't already, please visit their website. It's dmc-usa.com. And on their website you will find information, techniques, tutorials, washing instructions, everything you need to know about their beautiful floss. It's I think there's even free patterns on there as well. It really is a good site to go to if you have any questions or queries regarding DMC. Okay, and that leads to skeins. One of the many questions that we all have. How many skeins will you need to purchase for your design? And this is one question I've been asked a lot for Heaven and Earth designs in particular. Now, we're really lucky with Heaven and Earth designs charts because they tell us how many stitches there are for each colour. And you can actually work out yourself, or work out with the help of this particular chart, how many skeins you will need to purchase. So this particular website that I'm going to link to below is comcast.net, and it's a lady's blog, Kathy Dyer. There's actually quite a lot of cross-stitching information on her blog and is a great read. But for what we're talking about right now, she has come up with a chart, the amount of floss for cross-stitch. Not sure if you can see that there. So on the left-hand side of the chart is your fabric count. So you find the fabric count that you're using, and then on the top of the chart is how many strands of thread you need to use. And you follow it down, and then it will tell you how many stitches you will get out of that skein, which is fantastic. She says down below exactly how she worked out this equation, which I'm not going to go into now because I need to keep this video fairly short for you. But that information is all on there for you to read. Very, very interesting, and I think that could be very helpful to some of us. I didn't know that there was anything like this out there, and again, Google came to my rescue. I just decided one day, I wonder if someone has worked out how many stitches you get out of a skein, and this particular lady has worked it out based on fabric count and amount of strands used as well, which is absolutely fantastic. And as I said, there's a lot of information on this particular page. How to find the right side of your linen, and what else has she got on here? A lot of needlework questions and answers, information on hoops and scroll bars and waist canvas. So she's obviously someone that is incredibly knowledgeable, and I'm sure you'll find some information on her site very useful. The other thing regarding skeins is you can find on the internet very easily, and for those of you out there like me, I know there are a few, and Teresa, Little Stitcher, is one that uses her iPad as a cross-stitch Bible. You can actually save these pages to your iPad for a quick link. So what I was actually leading to was conversions for DMC to anchor, anchor to DMC, petite treasure braid to Krennic, etc, etc, etc. All that information is out there on the internet. It's out there on Google. Just put it in the search engine box. For instance, you can see here on my iPad, I have two shortcut apps there. First one is Anchor to DMC, and the second one is DMC to Anchor. If I open that up, this particular site is yarntree.com, which is a great site. Lots of great information on that site too. And you can see there, it gives you the colour conversion. And of course, there aren't as many anchor colours as there are DMC. So you will find some anchor colours will be repeated on the conversion of the DMC. The other thing regarding skeins I wanted to mention, and I can't show it to you because it's on my phone and I'm videoing on my phone, but I will link it below. It's an app called XFloss or CrossFloss, and it's a great little app that enables you to keep track of the skeins that you have in your stash. So basically you can just go through your DMC numbers and click on the number and tell it how many skeins you have. and I'm pretty sure there's also an option to add to a shopping cart. So for instance, if you want to go to the shops to stock up on your stash, rather than write it all on a piece of paper, you can put it on your app and add it to your basket, go to the store, open up your app, and it will tell you exactly which skeins you need to purchase. And then from there, I think you can add them into your app. I actually don't use that app very much at all anymore, but I did want to mention it because we all have our different things we like to use and don't like to use, and that might be useful to some of you. There are also some other similar apps out there on the market, so I suggest if that sort of thing interests you that you look into that. I'm pretty sure that app was free as well, which is an added benefit. Okay, next question I get a lot of is needle size. So what size needle do I need for this particular count fabric? That's something, again, I've never really known the answer to. I've just had a variety of size needles and I stitch with whatever I feel comfortable with. Pretty sure that I use mainly 26 and 28, but someone else has also done page that, again, various pages for this on the internet, but this one might help you. It's crossstitchneedleshop.co.uk. This is what their site looks like. And they have a general guide. Obviously, like anything relating to cross stitch, whatever you prefer to do is what matters most. Okay, there is no hard set rule that you must do this. So for an example, size 28 needle is recommended for an 18 count or 36 count fabric. Size 26 needle recommended for a 16 count or 32 count even weave, or a 22 count hard hanger. So all that information is on that site. Next we are on fabric. So probably one of my most used apps is the fabric conversion app. Now this app will tell me exactly how much fabric I need to purchase for the design I want to make, based on the fabric count I want to use. You can, if you don't want an app, you can go on the internet. There are various fabric calculator websites out there. You just need to search fabric calculator, fabric conversion calculator, something like that. Various websites have them on their page already. Heaven and Earth Designs has one, 123 Stitch has one, and I know there will be more. Also, Laurel has done a video on how to actually do the method yourself. So I'll put a link down to her video below, but she teaches you how it's very, very simple and easy. If you don't have the website or have the app and you just want to work it out yourself, I will put the link down below so you can see that. Or as I mentioned, there is an app. I will show you my app. And it's this one here, cross stitch calculator, the little moon with a needle, stitching the night away. That's what it looks like. So all you do up the top here is you put in the stitches for your design, so how wide it is by how high it is, what fabric count you are doing it on. If you're doing it over 2, so if you're doing it on an even weave, you would want to say yes because you're doing it over 2. But if you're doing it on an 8er, you would say no, so you're off for that. And I actually, where this part is, add a so many inch border, I prefer to put 0 in there, and I like to calculate it and find out what the size is, and then I manually work out what my border is, because sometimes, I mean, generally I will do 3-inch border all around. Sometimes I want 2, so I like to work out how much it is without the border, and then I add that on afterwards. But if you do the same, don't forget to allow for that border, because otherwise you will really stuff yourself up. You won't have enough fabric. So that's a great little app. Highly, highly recommend that. It takes all the guesswork out of Do I have enough fabric? That's something we all worry about. Okay, next, fabric size conversions. I see a lot mentioned on the internet. Fat quarter, half a yard, yard. What does that mean? I'm Australian. We don't use that terminology at all. We talk in meters and centimeters. Although I do use inches a lot. But when it comes to yards and fat quarters, totally confused. So I found a great website called quilterscache.com, and they've done the conversion for us. So they show you what the US system to metric is, and then the metric system to US is. And then we'll tell you, sorry, just want to show you briefly what it looks like. So if you search it, you know what you're looking for. So up the top there, fat quarter is 18 by 21 inches or 46 by 54 centimeters. And then all the other sizes as well. Very handy for us Aussies for that app. Or you Americans, you have no need for that. Now, the next one. This one, I thought everyone knew about this site. I only found out about it probably last year, but I really thought that everyone in the stitching community knew about it, and I was the last one to know. And I was watching someone's video the other night, and I'm really sorry, I can't remember who it was, and it was someone that we all watch. Anyway, they mentioned that they only just discovered the viewer on the internet, theviewer.net. I was shocked. I was like, oh, you didn't know about that? I thought I was the only one that didn't know about that. So then I realized, wow, okay, there might be a ton of people that don't know about that. So what is theviewer.net? Theviewer.net is a website that allows you a glimpse at the chart that you wish to stitch on different fabrics. So if you've ever dreamed of doing a cross stitch, say you normally stitch on white and you wanted to splurge out and say, oh, I wonder what it would look like on blue or on pink. And if, like me, you don't have access to shops that sell hand-dyed fabrics, we only have online to look at, and it's really, really difficult. So this website is fantastic because it gives you an idea of how that design will look on the fabric. Now, granted, not all designs are on here because, I mean, how could they? They just couldn't. But, you know, all the popular artists are on here, and all the popular hand dyers of fabric are on here as well. So it's called theviewer.net, and on the website it says the cross stitch design and fabric viewer. It's it there. So there are 782 patterns on this site that you can choose from, and there are 2,037 fabrics. Someone like me that can't make decisions, that's mind-blowing. So all you do is you select your artist. So let's go for Joan Elliott Designs, because I love Joan. And we're going to go for, I don't know, what should we go for? Butterfly Fairy. So that shows me what that design looks like. Now I'm going to try and decide what fabric I want to stitch that on. So we will select, and there is quite a few companies on here. So let's go with Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And let's choose something we can't imagine anyone would choose for this design. But we're going to go for a pink colour. And because I'm on my iPad, it doesn't actually tell me what colour I've chosen. But if you do this on your web page, it tells you the name of the colour. And there it is. I don't know, maybe someone would do that on pink. I hope I haven't offended anyone by saying that no one would choose pink. Personally, I wouldn't. And what you can do here, you can see, you might say, why is that design on there 3 times? You can actually compare these So you can choose along the top here whether you want to have all three showing the same, or you can do 3 different colors, so then you can compare which color you like the most. So I'm going to choose 3 different colors. Where are we? Middle. I'm not putting any thought into this at all. I'm just choosing whatever. So don't be shocked by what I choose. All right, so there we go there. I've chosen 3 different fabrics. And actually, I said to you before that it doesn't tell me what color the fabric is. I've just realized it does down below. So this is Breaking Dawn, Calypso Lugana, and Autumn Harvest. And of course, you can choose 3 different designer fabrics if you want. I've just chosen the same designer. But how fantastic is that? That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing that you can virtually see what it's going to look like before you buy fabric. So I just had to make sure that everyone knew about that now, because yeah, that's something we all need. Okay, so next I want to talk about charts, conversions, and errors. So many of us are always on the lookout for certain charts. Maybe you've seen it in a magazine, maybe a friend has stitched it but couldn't remember where she got it from. A great website called cyberstitches.com. Not only do they have finishing techniques and a message board and what else do they have? They have free patterns, all sorts of things, but they have a pattern directory so that you can search for a particular pattern that you're looking for, and it will tell you what magazine issue it's in. Really, really handy. This is what their site looks like. Okay, so the search board up the top. Okay, so according to their website, they have 3,205 publications of magazines with information on over 45,853 patterns. That's fantastic. Again, I know a lot of you probably are fully aware of this website, but there will be some people that aren't. So I will do a search for a particular design. Let's look for Edwardian Lady, only because I saw her in my magazine last night. So I've searched Edwardian Lady in the search box, and it comes up and it tells me that she is in the Cross Stitch Gold magazine, which is right there. Issue 13, publication month August 2009. She is also in the UK Cross Stitcher magazine. And Needlecraft magazine. The World of Cross Stitching. And my magazine actually isn't on here, which is surprising. I have Cross Stitch Collection, and that's not listed on there. So anyway, hopefully, you know, you can use that as a search tool for searching for a particular chart that you may be looking for. That might be helpful for you. Colour conversions. I've had a lot of questions regarding this, regarding my Celtic Autumn. Where did I find the colour conversion? Okay. The best thing to do if you're looking for a colour conversion for anything, and you know, you might not even think that there is a colour conversion out there, have a look. Go on Google, search in your chart name, so for instance Celtic Autumn, and put conversion next to it. You don't even have to put conversion, you can just do Celtic Autumn. Along the top, click on images. So on my Google web page, I've put in Celtic Autumn. You see on this bar along the top here, there's a heading called images. So, sorry, second one in, can't read backwards. images. Click on images and you will get a whole page with hundreds of images relating to that particular search. Now you notice I didn't put conversion in that one, I just put Celtic Autumn. Now I think most of you are aware of what Celtic Autumn should look like. That is the original colour there. Now automatically you can see these other colours. By clicking on those, it will lead you to someone's blog. This is how I found it. So this is the actual one I clicked on. There's that one there. And it will give you a little bit of information. And this will tell me it's Janet Granger, wordpress.com, and you can visit the page. Sorry if you can see all the streaks on my iPad, it really needs cleaning. And that has now taken me, or will when my internet works, to Janet Granger's blog. And sometimes you have to scroll through a little while because it depends on where that particular image is on the page, but luckily for me it's along the top. And she talks about this particular design and she's put all the conversions on her blog. So you can do that for a lot of things. I actually found a conversion to Mirabilia Red. I don't know if any of you have actually searched a Google search for Mirabilia Red, but someone has converted her to purple. She looks stunning. Of course, the name Red no longer fits her. Someone would need to call her purple, but she is absolutely gorgeous. These people that do these conversions are not only super talented, but amazingly generous in sharing those conversions with the rest of us, which is fantastic. So if you're interested in looking for a conversion for something you want to stitch, I suggest doing what I said, looking through Google Images. Right? Images will hopefully lead you to a blog that is in English. There are quite a few blogs out there that aren't. But yeah, hopefully some of you might find that interesting. Next thing regarding charts is corrections. All of the big designers, well, I say all, I could be wrong. Okay, majority of the big designers will have a section on their website with corrections to their charts. I mean, you know, we're all human. We all make mistakes. So do they. So I highly recommend it. And, you know, I would have stitched my Mirabilia Mermaid of Atlantis with its errors had I not been told by someone on Flosstube, and I'm really sorry. Again, I've forgotten who you are. I really need to write down notes of who says what. I tend to watch 10 to 15 videos at a time and then I've forgotten who said what. Anyway, you know who you are. But you very generously mentioned that there was actually, I think it was Bonnie. Was it Bonnie? I think it was you, Bonnie. Very generously mentioned that there was a corrections page on the website. And it will tell you any correction, obviously any corrections that need to be made to that particular chart. Now you may have a chart that doesn't have the error on it because it may have been an older chart that had the error and they may have reprinted them and all the new ones are okay. But I still suggest that if you're doing a Lizzie Kate, if you're doing a Mirabilia, if you're doing a Joan Elliott, go to the website, check the corrections page and make sure that that design is not on there. And if it is, take a note of what's wrong with it and what you need to change, because, you know, none of us want errors in our designs. And, you know, I can't stress that highly enough because I didn't know designers had a corrections page until this year. Till that YouTuber that I mentioned, I had no idea. It's like, what? They make mistakes? And of course I should have known that. But, and while I'm talking about the original designer's webpage, I'd also like to mention that they all, well, it seems the majority of them, again, have free designs on their website. So if you've never tried a Lizzie Kate before, you don't want to buy one in case you don't like it, go onto her webpage. She's got some free designs on there. She also has the free borders. So when you purchase the little flip it charts, which a lot of people will stitch individually, should you wish to stitch them all together as one piece, like I will be with my next Lizzie Kate, Lizzie has provided the border and the instructions on how to stitch it all as one piece. So even if you're not going on there to check for corrections or check for free patterns, there might be some more information regarding the design you want to stitch, and there might be some improvements to it or another way of stitching it. So yeah, check out the designer's webpage for the design that you're going to stitch, and hopefully you can get whatever information you need to from that design. Okay, stitch tutorials and techniques. A lot of you are trying out specialty stitches, and I applaud you for that. I think it's awesome. There is a lot of information out there on the internet regarding this. YouTube obviously has some video tutorials, and I would highly recommend checking out Mary Corbett's YouTube tutorials. Her way of describing the technique, and she does it right there with you, and she doesn't just do it once, she does it about 5 or 6 times. Absolutely amazing. She has techniques for French knots, lazy daisy, you know, all of them. She has techniques for all of them. And on her actual website, which I highly recommend also, she does reviews of products, and again, very, very talented lady and very knowledgeable. And I think we can all gain from her experience. But I highly, highly suggest you checking out her YouTube tutorials for her stitch techniques. Okay, PDF readers, another one I get a lot of questions on. Should you require to try viewing your charts in a digital version on an iPad or a Android device? There are PDF viewer apps out there on the market. There are free ones, and there are ones that you need to purchase. I can't speak on behalf of the Android market because I am an Apple user, so every app that I own obviously is for iPad or iPhone. I personally use the Goodreader app, love it to death. I will put a link down below to my tutorial. Should you wish to know a little bit more about that, you can have a look and make your own opinion from my tutorial. There is also Foxit, which is a free app. I know a lot of people love that app. For me personally, it wasn't to my liking, but you know, again, we're all different. We all like different things. So Goodreader was much more preferred for what I was looking for. But you know, for a free app, you can't go wrong to give that a try and see if you like it. There's also GoodNotes, I believe. I've heard a few people mention GoodNotes. There's others. There's a lot of them out there. So have a look. Maybe even look on YouTube for tutorials to see, even not necessarily anyone in the stitching community, but someone may have done a tutorial on a particular app that you're interested in, and see if it can do what you want it to do, what you're looking for in an app. As far as inventory goes, keeping your cross-stitch inventory, I cannot recommend highly enough cross-stitch app. I shall show you what it looks like. Okay, that's it there. That's what it looks like. It isn't free. I can't remember how much it was. Again, need to write these things down. I cannot recommend this app highly enough. It enables me to categorize all my stash. Everything except my Krennic, really. Sorry, that's wrong. Everything except my beads, which I'm sure they will add to in the future. The lovely man who's designed this app, his wife is a cross-stitcher, so I'm sure she knows exactly what needs to be on there, and she's helped him along the way. He's also very approachable. Should you have any questions or suggestions for the app, feel free to comment, send him a message. Basically, this app enables me to, as I mentioned, I have a complete inventory of everything that I own. My fabric, my charts, my DMC, my anchor, all my books, everything. I also have everything that I have made on there. Every design that I have stitched is on there. I can make whatever notes I want towards it. So how long it took me to stitch, what year I started it, when I finished it, what threads I used, if I made any changes to the chart. I can also add photographs, or a photograph. I can add one photograph. I can also, there's another section where I can do a wish list, so I can pre-plan what I want to start, and again I can make notes reminding myself of what I still need to purchase. This app is incredible. It really is incredible. But if you have a lot of stash like I do and you purchase this app, give yourself plenty of time to put all your stuff on there. But even though it will take you a while, it's fun. Organising stash is fun, isn't it? Am I the only one that enjoys that? I love organising my stash almost as much as I love stitching. So if I'm not stitching, I want to be doing something stitching related. And that app, I use that every day. Every single day I'm on there doing something to it. It's really fantastic. Okay, next, Heaven and Earth Designs. Another one I get a lot of questions on. I love that you all ask me questions, but please remember I have only completed one. I've completed one Heaven and Earth Designs. Doesn't make me an expert. Not by any means. There are people out there that have completed so many of them, and I bow down to them. On the Heaven and Earth Designs webpage, I will show you. They have a link to their bulletin board. If you have not joined the bulletin board, I highly recommend it. You'll find it on the right hand side of the page under important links. So you'll see the fabric calculators at the top. I mentioned that earlier. Newsletter, reward program, videos, rack program, bulletin board. So it's just above the frequently asked questions. You will need to request to join and then wait to be accepted. The reason why I recommend that site is any question you have regarding Heaven and Earth Designs has already been asked and answered by the wonderful members of this board. There are so many pages of information on this bulletin board. It's a little bit mind-blowing. There's everything. And the thing that I love about it is the progress photos. So the most commonly asked question when it comes to Heaven and Earth Designs, I would assume, is what fabric count should I do it on? And how many strands should I use? And should I do it full crosses or half? Don't we all want to know that? Of course we do. So there are people on this website that have shared their progress photos, and they have stated how many strands they used, what fabric count, and how they're stitching it. And you can see for yourself what the coverage looks like. That's how I decided what fabric count I was going to use for my Blue Dragon. I tried the 25 count linen, which was what was recommended. The linen was awful. It was so awful. I love stitching on linen. Not for Heaven and Earth Design. Not for me. I went on that board and I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked some more. And I finally came to the realization that I liked the way that the 18 count looked. 18 count Ada. And I knew that that was something I could stitch on. That was fine, you know. And I stitched that and I loved every second of it, which you all know. And I'm now doing 28 count. My next one will probably be 25 count. I want to try it on different counts so then I can have a bit more of a bit more informed knowledge of what I'm talking about, because I do get so many questions. But I do highly recommend you joining this bulletin board. If you have any questions, most likely people will say that's already been asked and they'll show you where the answer is. Probably best to search for it first before you go and ask on the board, because I guarantee it's already been asked and answered. But yeah, please check out that website if you have any questions regarding heaven and earth designs, because as much as I love to help you all, and you know, I'm still going to answer your questions, I'm not an expert, and you're only going to get my opinion. And there could be hundreds out there that don't agree with my opinion. So have a look on there and have fun. You'll probably spend quite a while on that board. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention is a new app that I found. You know, I love my apps, and I think you guys are going to be as excited about this app as I was. This app is called Frame Builder. This is what it looks like, and it means what it sounds like. No, it doesn't actually build the frame for you, but it is a virtual board to show you what your cross stitch will look like framed. Now, little story behind how I came to find this app. So my long-term watchers will know I'm a Libran. I'm really bad at making decisions. You put 10 things in front of me, I'll choose 2. I'll get down to 2, no problems at all. Choosing between the 2, I'm impossible. I'll choose one, and then the next day I'll say, oh no, actually the other one's got its benefits too. I am such a true Libra that it scares me. I really wish I wasn't. Anyway, so I went to the picture framing store by myself because my daughter was working, and I said I want someone to come with me. I'm going to need help with this process. No one could come with me, and I didn't want to wait. So I went to the picture framer, got out Blue Dragon. He said, did you have any colours in mind? And I said, maybe a blue, because there's blue in the dragon. Okay. Did you know that there are about as many blues in matte board colours as there are DMC blues? He got out blue after blue after blue after blue, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So he showed me what he thought he liked, and I ummed and I ahed, and I sort of found a couple of blues that I could pick from the image. And then he said, well, do you want one mount or 2? Oh, well, don't do that to a Libran. All right, don't give me another choice, because that's craziness. I had to then sort of figure out, did I want another mat? And what sort of colour would I go for that mat? So we've just doubled my problem. Then he said, okay, do you know what sort of frame you want? Oh, gosh. I'm sure I'm not the only one. You know, you go to a picture framer and all they give you is a corner piece. And they stick it in the corner. And you have to try and imagine what that's going to look like covering your piece. If you're getting something small, it's probably not so bad. But something the size of my Blue Dragon, I couldn't. I'm a visual person. I am not someone that can come up with an idea, see it in my head, and then create it. And I know so many of you can do that, and I am so jealous of that. I'm not like that. I see something I like, and then I say, yes, I like that. So I really struggled. He picked out a couple of colours, picked out a rough frame. I said, yeah, I like that, but I don't know, I sort of like that, and I like that, and that's nice too. Anyway, he worked out a rough quote for me, and I was happy with the quote. But I said I need to think about the colours. So I took a few photos, obviously while I was there, of those little corner pieces on my big thing. And I went home and I asked everyone at home, what do you think? I got a couple of different opinions. That didn't help either. Oh, there has to be an easier way. There just has to be. So I went on Google and I went on App Store and I found that app. Do you know, I was able to make a decision relatively quickly in the comfort of my own home, not stressed because there were customers waiting behind me and I was taking up their space at the counter, not stressed that, you know, the guy serving me is thinking you're a complete idiot, you can't make up your mind. I was able to do this at home. This app will allow you to choose matte boards in different colours, frames in different colors and shapes and textures. Unbelievable. But another really unique feature of this app is, I can't remember what it's called, but it enables you to, it gives you like a 3D image of it, right? And then you can take your phone into the room that you want to put it on, and you can see what it will look like up in your room on the wall. I was blown away. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This app has to be shown in the cross stitch community. And even if you don't frame things, okay, and you say you turn everything into wall hangings, you can still use this, because you can look at it as what colors will look great around my design. Seriously, I'm going to do a completely separate tutorial for it because it deserves it. I guarantee you are all going to love it. Please don't blame me should you now wish to frame everything that you own, because you now know what colors you want on everything, and I'm going to completely destroy your credit cards. Please don't be angry with me. And you know what? When I decided on the dragon, exactly, I figured out I wanted a double mount, I wanted white on the bottom, I wanted the blue on the top, I knew exactly what blue, I knew exactly what frame. I took my app into the picture framer and I said, hey, look what I've got. And he goes, what's that? And I said, it's a framing app. And he goes, you're kidding. He had no idea. And I showed him. He was able to pick out everything that I'd chosen in the shop, gave me a quote on the spot, so quick and easy. And he loved the app so much that he said, I'm going to buy that. And he said, I'm going to use that to show all my customers that come in. He said, because you're not the only one that struggles seeing it with just a corner. He said, now I can give my customers a virtual image of the whole design framed. And I think I made his day. And that made me so happy because, yeah. Anyway, I could go on about this app for ages, and if I do, then you don't get the tutorial on it. So I'm going to leave that for now. As for everything else I've mentioned today, I really hope some of you found it useful. I'm really sorry if some of you have watched this and said, hey, I knew all of that already and you didn't tell me anything. At least I hope you got some stitching done while you listen to my horrible Australian accent, which I know some of you love, and that you're crazy. Anyway, as for everything I mentioned, there, you know, I only touched the surface of what's out there. Some of you may say, I've got better sites that will tell me that information. That's awesome. You know, I really would like to see other stitchers showing in their videos or mentioning other apps or other websites that they find useful for other reasons, to help these newbies out there, you know, and some of us oldies, because we're not all aware of what's out there. There is so much information on the internet, and unless you have hours and hours to sit down and search for it, then you could possibly be missing it. So let's help one another and let's get the information out there, and let's all enjoy our hobby. So I'm going to leave that here for now. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Welcome aboard. Thank you to all my existing subscribers. And thank you for everyone that likes and comments. Really appreciate it all. Take care of yourselves and be nice to one another. And I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.